Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. When my grandpa passed away 20 years ago, he left 2 houses to his kids, my mother and my uncle. My grandpa didn't make a will, so they both had a 50% share in each and were both entitled to using the houses in the same way. One of these houses is a pretty huge beach house that my cousins, my uncle's kids, and I spent our summers in, and is the crown jewel of the inheritance. My uncle had gotten divorced during that time too, 20 years ago, and that divorce left him in debt. My mother tried to help him settle the debt at the time, but we weren't too comfortable financially either, so she couldn't. As a result, the debt piled on and kept increasing. It wasn't pretty for my uncle, and he probably fell into a pretty severe depression. I'm only saying probably because it's undiagnosed. Divorced, in debt, and soon after, my cousins stopped talking to him. He was a broken man and sort of withdrew from all of us entirely. The situation remained unchanged for the next 8 to 10 years, at which point he started to slowly improve. He was still massively in debt and was paying it incrementally, but he started talking with his kids again. He wanted nothing to do with the beach house, however, since he only had bad memories of it. That of course didn't stop my cousins from using it as a vacation home. 50% was their father's after all. So from that point on, my cousins and I all shared that house for our summer vacations, generally without much problem. It really is huge. Now I don't mean to brag, but I've done quite alright for myself. Not all of it was through merit or skill, as I was fortunate enough to marry into a very wealthy family. Out of love, not for the money. My uncle was still in debt, of course, so I offered to buy his share of the beach house. But only if it was enough to settle his debt. As I said, he wanted nothing to do with it. So he was more than happy to sell. We consulted a few real estate agents to get a feel for the market value of the house, and we found out that the whole thing would sell for 300% of my uncle's standing debt. So half was 150% of his debt. He sold it to me and my wife for 130%. So now 50% of the beach house belongs to my mother, who was okay with us buying and helping out her brother, and 50% to me. My cousins are absolutely furious. They were against the sale from the start and urged their father not to sell. But he was eager to get out of debt, and the house meant nothing to him either way. So now they've focused their anger onto me and are saying I took advantage of my bankrupt uncle and cheated them out of the inheritance. I never really liked my cousins, so I told them to go F themselves. Cause I bought at a fair market price, and if I was really taking advantage of uncle, then I would have just bought at 100% of his debt. They're still complaining, saying how I moved too quickly, and I should have given them time to grow enough funds to help their father get out of debt on their own. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My uncle divorced when he was 35 and his oldest daughter was 15 or so, the younger 12. It wasn't entirely their fault that they stopped talking to him since their mother took them away. I guess it is their fault for not talking to him as adults, but I'm sure they had their reasons. Or maybe their mother just poisoned them against him. I don't know. The fact of the matter is that they rekindled their relationship before they started using the beach house again. You're not the a-hole, OP. You helped your uncle out a lot with buying his share of the vacation home that he doesn't want. And I'm sure he's very happy about it. Certainly you did it because you want the property, but if it makes your uncle debt-free and happy too, then it's a win-win situation. I understand why your cousins might be bitter about losing this property, but they need to think about the fact that their father doesn't want it, and he sold it to you to clear his debt. You didn't trick him or anything, and they need to suck it up. They're being a-holes for making you the villain and not being happy for their father. Now for some comments. My mom and her sister own a massive property that was passed down to them. My mom doesn't have any debts, but her sister is driving her crazy. I always wanted to inherit the property because I have so many good memories there. But at this point, I'm pushing my mom to just sell it because it is draining on her mental health. If the cousins actually cared about their dad, then they should be ecstatic that he's finally free. I know I would be thrilled if my mom was. Not the a-hole. Your cousins say you should have given them more time to get the money, but your uncle struggled with the house for 8 to 10 years. How the hell didn't they think about this before? Plus, the deal is between your uncle and you. They apparently didn't do anything to help their father get rid of the debt. That being said, if you and your cousins were still getting along, I would have let them use the house occasionally, but they're being petty from what you say, so I don't know. Not the a-hole. Seems like your cousins are under the impression the home is theirs now, just because their father is going to die at some point. That half of the home was your uncle's when you bought it, not theirs. He can do what he wants with it. Maybe if they helped their father pay off the debt sooner, you wouldn't have offered to help. Nothing wrong with doing a favor for someone that also benefits you. If your uncle was happy to sell it to you, why should they have a problem with it? It's not their home. They don't own a penny of it, so don't get to call any shots. That's like saying anytime you buy anything off anyone, you're robbing their offspring of the inheritance. LOL. Good on you for helping someone in need. And congratulations on your new investment. Story 2. My granddaughter, Ava, just turned 15. Her dad died when she was very little. My daughter, May, remarried a few years ago to a man, Tom, that I wish she hadn't. He has a 13-year-old disabled son, Rob. Tom spoils Rob and neglects all of my granddaughter's needs. Of course, this is May's fault too, and I've gotten to the point where I still love her but do not like her. Ava must always take a backseat to Rob. She can't go places that Rob can't go. He's in a wheelchair. So she can't do stuff like camping. I had to fight with my May to get her to put her foot down and allow Ava to even play sports in school. Even then it falls on me to transport her because May must always be available for Tom's needs. She won't even go to her games because Rob said it will make Tom feel bad. Ava's paternal grandparents had to stop giving Ava money because Tom forced her to give Rob 60% of it. Because Rob is disabled, he needed extra. Ava's birthday was coming up, and Tom was clear that the cake and ice cream must be what Rob wants or else it is unfair. He demanded that the cake must be chocolate and the ice cream strawberry, neither of which Ava prefers. The party was at my house, so when I pushed back on this, Tom gave me a spiel about how hard Rob's life is, and he deserves to always get what he wants because he's disabled. My husband's daughter just moved near us recently. She has a 6-year-old with Down syndrome, Dave. I asked Ava if she would be interested in inviting them. She agreed. I knew Dave had some allergies, so I talked to stepdaughter to make sure the party food was safe for him. He is deathly allergic to strawberries. So I assured her that it was no problem and we would not have strawberry ice cream. Ava was happy about that. She then asked if there were other food preferences Dave might have. It turns out he doesn't like eating brown. Well, since Dave is younger and frankly more disabled than Rob, we decided that it would only be fair to make him what he likes. Ava got a red velvet cake and mint ice cream that she wanted. Tom was enraged when he got to my place and saw the food wasn't to his son's specifications. I just told him it was more fair to have what Dave likes because Dave is younger and disabled. Rob threw a fit and upset Dave with his yelling. I scolded him and told him that it wasn't okay to upset the little disabled boy and that he was being unfair. Then I gave Dave the presents I was forced to buy for Rob because it was more fair. Am I the a-hole? Information. Rob is paralyzed from the waist down after an accident as a toddler. It is really sad. Ava has said that Rob is quite gifted academically, but his father will never give him a chance to excel. Not the a-hole, OP. You sound like a good grandmother. I honestly feel a bit sad for Rob. It isn't his fault his father is a tool, though he sounds spoiled as well. And I feel horrible for Ava's paternal grandparents. Hopefully they've created a fund for her when she turns 18. It must be doubly painful for them that both their son is deceased and their granddaughter is treated so badly. You sound like more of a mother to Ava than your own daughter, which is sad but necessary. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. I really wish I could say I can't believe this, but sadly I do. May is a horrible parent. She needs to put her daughter first, or at the very least, treat them the same and not stand for her husband treating her daughter so poorly. They are doing nothing for Rob but making him a spoiled brat who will have a very hard life when his daddy is no longer there to make everyone else put him first. He needs to learn to deal with letdowns, not getting your way, and treating him as normal as possible. Also, it would be good for him to learn to be happy for his stepsister, show compassion to others. God, I hate parents like this. Honestly, your daughter is the worst part here. She allows it. If he is paralyzed with no brain deficits, no one is doing him any favors by giving him everything he wants and all of the special treatment. He's in for a really sad life when Tom dies and no one gives him the extra special treatment anymore. In recent years, it's actually become known that most disabled people find it offensive to have you go too out of your way to help, and they would rather be treated like normal people. Not the a-hole for sure. I'm sorry your daughter married such a piece of work. Hopefully whatever she's getting out of the relationship is worth it. Hopefully she comes to her senses before her own daughter starts to see that things aren't fair and starts resenting her own mother. I'm glad you and the other grandparents are teaming up together to protect her. I feel so sorry for Ava, and I hope she'll seek therapy in the future. I'm happy you and paternal grandparents are there to remind her she matters and her needs, emotions, and well-being matters. Being treated this way does strange things to a person's self-esteem. I hope you guys can get her out at 16 and not a second later. She needs out ASAP. I also hope Tom will stop abusing the other kid as well. It's very concerning that he's deliberately holding him back. Wheelchair users can still participate in many sports, for example. And yet it seems Tom's solution is to prevent everyone from doing sports instead. He is refusing to give this kid independence physically and academically. He'll suffer for it. Story 3. My job has me traveling constantly. Between my home city in America and Paris, it's very inconsistent. I could be in Paris for a week or 3 months straight at a time. It's also short notice for the shorter trips. I might get added onto the trip just 1 or 3 days in advance. On average, I'd say I spend 4 to 6 months out of the year in Paris. Since I was basically living there half the time and I couldn't stand living in a hotel anymore, I decided to buy an apartment in Paris. It's 1 bedroom and like 500 square feet. It's in a very good location though, so it was expensive as hell. I'm so glad I bought it though, because living in my own home is way more comfortable than a hotel, and I don't need to pack and unpack every time I leave. My quality of life has gotten so much better, being able to cook my own meals, relax in my own home, and work in a space that actually lets me focus. It's not a vacation home, it's a secondary residence. My brother and sister-in-law have a milestone anniversary coming up in 2022, and they plan on staying in Paris for a while. They haven't decided on the specific dates or whether they'll be there for 2 weeks or a month, but they have decided they will be staying in my apartment, without asking me. They just told me to keep all of June 2022 free for them. There are so many reasons why that can't work. First of all, it's a 1-bedroom apartment. If I suddenly got added onto a trip and needed to go to Paris, one of us would need to leave, and it's not going to be me. Second, the only feasible way I can ensure that I won't have any Paris obligations in the entire month of June 2022 is by using all of my vacation days that month, which I'm not going to do. My brother and sister-in-law have called me an a-hole for not helping them make this once-in-a-lifetime milestone anniversary work. It's their 10-year anniversary. There will be a 25th and a 50th, hopefully. If I don't let them stay, they'll either have to cut down the length or quality of the trip by a lot to make it affordable. The comparable cost of a hotel where my apartment is in peak tourist season would be 200 euros a day. If I really wanted to, I could make it work. I could live in a hotel in case of a trip the entire month if need be. I would have to greatly sacrifice my work quality and living standards for that period of time. I'd also be setting the precedent that my apartment is a vacation home to the rest of the family, which I have spent a lot of time trying to counter. My brother and sister-in-law insist that this is a favor families should do for each other and I'm being selfish. They don't have a ton of money and want to make a special memory for a special occasion. I get that, but in my opinion, they can still have a second honeymoon and just cut costs in other places. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. If they had asked, maybe things would be different. You could have still said no all you wanted, and rightfully so. However, by demanding the place and attempting to Shanghai it for a whole month is ridiculous. No one gets to demand someone's place for 30 days and they get upset when they're told no. Reading the title, my initial thought was, "Aw, come on, why not? If you can help out, you should." Then I read the part where they made plans to stay in your home for an entire month without even asking. They can save up and go for their 20th if they want the experience so badly. You're not the a-hole, but they sure as hell are. It honestly really depends on how close you are to your brother. I'm extremely close to my sister and she has done a lot for me all her life. So I would give it up for her in a heartbeat. Because if there is a 50% chance I use the apartment for a week or two, some arrangement can be made. There is also a 50% chance you might not have to go there. But you aren't the a-hole for not giving it up either way, close or not. It was wrong of them to just expect you would give it up. That's what makes this situation not the a-hole instead of no a-holes here.